The Galactic Council's dismissal. The Grand Assembly of the Galactic Council was a spectacle of power and arrogance. A massive, circular chamber of polished obsidian and shimmering blue light. It housed the representatives of hundreds of interstellar civilizations. Towering insectoids, gelatinous life forms in floating chambers, and towering reptilian warlords sat in their designated sections, each adorned with their species insignia. At the center, the High Chancellor's podium loomed, a symbol of authority over the lesser races. Earth's ambassador Elaine Carter stood at the petitioner's platform, facing the assembly. She was dwarfed by the sheer scale of the chamber, yet she held herself tall, her piercing blue eyes scanning the gathered diplomats. Her voice, unwavering, echoed through the hall. The Zorvax Dominion has forcibly annexed the human colony of New Terra, enslaving its population. We demand immediate intervention from this council. Earth will not stand for this violation of sovereignty. A murmur of amusement rippled through the hall. The Zorvax, a warlike species of towering, armored brutes, sat at their own elevated podium. Their leader, Chancellor Overick, a 7-foot-tall behemoth with crimson scales and burning yellow eyes, leaned forward with a predatory grin. Demand. Overick chuckled, his voice a deep growl. Your species is barely a century into interstellar travel, Carter. You have no standing to demand anything. Elaine clenched her fists but maintained her composure. We are recognized members of this council. New Terra was a peaceful colony designated as independent space. The Zorvax violated interstellar law. Interstellar law? Overick scoffed. Laws are for those who can enforce them. Your kind is weak, human. You do not have the fleet, the warriors, or the influence to challenge us. That colony is now ours. Your people serve us. The murmur among the assembly turned to quiet laughter. Some of the diplomats exchanged glances, others merely shook their heads. A towering, multi-eyed Therak delegate spoke up, her voice reverberating in the hall. This council does not interfere in military disputes between members. If humanity cannot defend its worlds, it is their own failing. Elaine's pulse pounded in her ears. This is what they feared all along. The council's laws were a facade, a system built by the strong to keep the weak in place. She took a slow breath. So this is it? You all sit here in this grand hall, draped in authority, yet when a crime is committed, you turn your heads. A gelatinous being from the Uvaxi Alliance pulsed with color, its way of showing amusement. They are just humans, it said in a gurgling tone. What are they going to do? Laughter spread through the chamber. Elaine absorbed every moment of it, every smirk, every dismissive look. She had tried diplomacy. She had appealed to their sense of justice. And they had laughed. Elaine took a step back and gave a slow, knowing nod. You've made your decision, she said quietly, but with an unmistakable steel beneath her voice. Then, she raised her wrist communicator and sent a single, encrypted message. They've made their choice. Send the fleet. She turned without another word and strode from the chamber. Behind her, the laughter continued. They had no idea what was coming. The March of the Armada. The ESS Retribution was a leviathan of war, a dreadnought nearly 3 kilometers long, its dark hull designed for stealth and resilience. It drifted in the void at the center of Earth's first Armada, surrounded by hundreds of warships, destroyers, cruisers, and carriers, each bristling with railguns, missile pods, and state-of-the-art point defense systems. Unlike the elegant, energy-based fleets of the Galactic Council species, Earth ships were built for brute force combat. Inside the Retribution's war room, Admiral Marcus Reeves stood before a holographic display of their target. New Terra, now a Zorvax stronghold. His chiseled face was set in grim determination as he studied the enemy formations. Around the table, his senior officers awaited orders. Fleet status? Reeve asked. Commander Julia Vasquez, his chief strategist, answered immediately. All ships report combat readiness. Stealth systems are active. No detected scans from enemy pickets. Reeve nodded. Good. Give me intel on Zorvax forces. The hologram zoomed in on the planet. Lieutenant Renshaw, the intelligence officer, detailed their findings. Enemy fleet consists of 16 warships, including 2 Dreadnought-class battleships. Planetary defenses are moderate, orbital gun platforms, and a ground-based anti-ship array. They're not expecting us. Reeve allowed himself a small smirk. They never expect humans to strike first. His gaze shifted to the drop forces stationed aboard the carriers. Thousands of Terran Marines, clad in next-generation powered exoskeletons, stood in perfect formation, their armor loaded with integrated AI-assisted targeting systems and advanced kinetic shielding. They would be the hammer that shattered the Zorvak's hold on New Terra. His voice was firm as he addressed the room. Make no mistake, this is not just about New Terra. The Zorvaks believe we are weak. The Council laughed at us. We are about to prove them wrong. Vasquez smirked. And the rest of the galaxy will be watching. Reeve tapped a control on the panel, bringing up a tactical countdown. Fleet-wide transmission. A ship-wide alert chimed, and every crew member, soldier, and pilot tuned in. This is Admiral Reeve. Today, we reclaim what is ours. The Zorvaks stole our people, and the Council spat in our face. They think we are prey. We are about to remind them what humanity truly is. No mercy. No hesitation. Engage FTL. Across the fleet, thousands of voices responded as one. Yes, sir. The order was given. One by one, the ships of Earth's first Armada vanished in a slipspace, streaking toward war. Deep space, en route to New Terra. The black void stretched infinitely, interrupted only by the shimmering distortions of ships moving faster than light. Inside the Retribution, tension filled the bridge as the fleet neared its destination. Lieutenant Renshaw suddenly stiffened, eyes scanning the data feed. We intercepted a Zorvak's transmission. Reeve turned. Let's hear it. A guttural, arrogant voice filled the speakers. The humans have gone silent. Their representative fled from the council chamber. They will do nothing, as expected. A low chuckle followed. Send more transports. The new human slaves will fetch a good price. Silence followed. The bridge crew exchanged looks. Fury simmered beneath their professional exteriors. Reeve let out a slow breath, his jaw tightening. Then, he reached for the ship's intercom. Marines, prepare for combat drops. Fleet, initiate battle formation on exit. The countdown reached 0. The ESS Retribution and the full force of Earth's fleet ripped back into real space, right on top of the unsuspecting Zorvaks. The battle for New Terra had begun. Shock and awe. The Zorvaks never saw them coming. One moment, the orbit around New Terra was quiet, patrolled by a fleet confident in its superiority. The next, space itself ripped open, and from the darkness emerged Earth's first Armada. Hundreds of warships materialized in tight formation, weapons primed, and targeting systems already locked onto their prey. The ESS Retribution led the charge, its massive railguns already cycling to fire. On the Zorvak's command vessel, the warlord Gorvek, the supreme commander of the occupation fleet, stared at his tactical screen in stunned disbelief. Impossible, he growled. Humans don't have this kind of fleet. He barely had time to finish his sentence before the first volley struck. The fury of Earth. Earth's war doctrine had never followed the Galactic Council's standards of slow, methodical fleet engagements. Instead, the human fleet fought like a predatory pack, swift, coordinated, and utterly ruthless. The first impact came from kinetic railguns. The Zorvak's ships' shields, designed to counter energy-based weapons, were useless against projectiles moving at near-relativistic speeds. The first enemy battleship shattered instantly, its hull crumpling as hypersonic slugs tore through it like paper. Then came the missile waves. Hundreds of smart projectiles streaked toward their targets, weaving past point defense systems with adaptive AI guidance. Explosions blossomed in the void, tearing apart Zorvak's cruisers before they could even return fire. Inside the ESS Retribution, Admiral Reeve stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the battle unfold. Phase 1 is a success, Commander Vasquez reported. Zorvak's fleet is in total disarray. Reeve nodded. Good. Begin ground operations. The drop. From the hangars of Earth's carriers, hundreds of drop pods launched, sleek, black cylinders fired at hypersonic speeds toward the surface of New Terra. The Zorvak's ground forces scrambled anti-air defenses, but it was already too late. The pod slammed into the ground with seismic force. The doors blasted open, revealing Terran Marines in full battle armor. 8 feet tall in their powered exoskeletons, they moved with inhuman speed and precision. At the head of one strike team, Captain Elias Kane stepped out, his boots crunching against the scorched earth. His visor displayed enemy positions in real time, fed directly by orbital reconnaissance. They were outnumbered, but it didn't matter. He raised his rifle, an advanced Gauss weapon designed to fire armor-piercing slugs at speeds no biological soldier could react to. His squad followed. "Execute the liberation protocol," Kane ordered. No survivors. The Zorvak's warriors, towering and monstrous, roared as they charged. It was a slaughter. Marines moved like ghosts, their exoskeletons enhancing speed and strength beyond what the aliens could comprehend. Precision fire ripped through Zorvak's armor, and tactical drones flitted through the battlefield, marking high-priority targets. The human resistance fighters, once enslaved colonists, saw their chance. Seizing weapons from fallen oppressors, they joined the battle, turning the Zorvak's own brutality against them. Across the planet, the same scene played out. Military outposts were overrun in minutes. Zorvak's command centers were reduced to craters. Human banners were raised once more. The breaking point. On the Zorvak's command ship, Gorvek watched in horror as his fleet was obliterated and his ground forces collapsed. Reports flooded in. "We are losing the planet, my lord." Panic gripped the bridge crew. The Zorvak's had never known fear like this. They had underestimated humans. Gorvek snarled, slamming his fist on the console. "We must retreat. Send a distress signal to the Council. Tell them the humans have gone mad." A desperate transmission was sent. "The humans... No, the Terrans are here, and we are losing." The Galactic Council received the message, and for the first time in history, they felt fear. The reckoning. The Grand Assembly of the Galactic Council was in chaos. The once opulent chamber, a place where decisions had been made with cold detachment, now echoed with the panicked voices of alien diplomats. The news had spread like wildfire. The humans had done the unthinkable. The Zorvak's Dominion's fleet was annihilated. Their occupation of New Terra had been crushed in hours. And now, Earth's Armada was advancing. Chancellor Overic of the Zorvak's Dominion sat at the head of the chamber, his claws digging into the table. The predator that once mocked humanity now looked hunted. A trembling Uvaxi diplomat, his gelatinous form flickering with distress, turned toward Overic. "You told us humans were weak." Overic's jaw tightened, his yellow eyes flicking toward the massive display in the center of the chamber. A live transmission from space, captured by a long-range Council probe. The feed showed hundreds of Terran warships, moving in perfect formation, approaching the Zorvak's homeworld. The ESS Retribution led the way, its hull scarred but unyielding. It was not a fleet of conquerors, it was a fleet of executioners. The doors to the chamber slammed open. Ambassador Elaine Carter stepped inside. She was alone. No guards. No entourage. Just one human standing before the most powerful species in the galaxy. But this time, they were silent. This time, they were afraid. Elaine strode to the center of the chamber, her movements slow and deliberate. She placed a small data chip onto the central table. The display flickered, revealing footage of the battle for New Terra. Human warships tearing through Zorvak's cruisers, Terran Marines decimating alien forces in combat, enslaved colonists taking up arms against their captors. The last clip showed the ESS Retribution hovering over New Terra, its railguns primed, as the last Zorvak stronghold was reduced to rubble. Elaine let the silence stretch. She wanted them to feel it, the weight of their mistake. Finally, she spoke. "The Zorvaks attacked us." The Council laughed. "You said we were weak." She let the words sink in. Some of the diplomats looked away. Others shifted uncomfortably. "We asked for help. We asked for justice." She turned her piercing gaze toward Overic. "You denied us both." Overic bared his fangs. This is an act of war, human. You cannot. Elaine cut him off. War. She let out a sharp breath, almost a laugh. No, Chancellor. War would mean you had a chance to fight back. Overt's mouth snapped shut. Elaine gestured to the display, where Earth's Armada now loomed over the Zorvak's homeworld. Right now, my fleet is waiting for my command. A cold wave of fear settled over the chamber. Elaine folded her hands behind her back. We have no interest in conquest. But let me make one thing very clear. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a deadly whisper. If a single human world is attacked again, if one more of our colonies is touched, we will not ask the Council for help. We will not file complaints. We will not hold discussions. She turned her gaze to the entire assembly. We will come, and we will end you. A shudder passed through the gathered species. Elaine straightened and tapped the data chip. The terms are simple. The display shifted to a single document. Earth is to be recognized as a sovereign and independent power. The Zorvaks will release all remaining human captives. Humanity will claim a seat on the Galactic Council. Overkissed. And if we refuse? Elaine didn't answer. Instead, she looked toward the display, where the ESS Retribution's railguns were already charging. The silence was deafening. One by one, the Council delegates activated their consoles, voting on the proposal. The result was unanimous. Elaine smiled, a slow, knowing smile. Good. She turned on her heel and strode toward the exit. Just before she reached the doors, she heard a whisper from one of the alien diplomats. They were just humans. Another voice, solemn and terrified, finished the thought. But now, there's something else entirely.